Good morning. Thank you so much for coming to our dad's memorial today. My family and I would like to thank Comforts of Home here in River Falls for taking such good care of my folks in the short amount of time that they were there. The entire staff was so very kind to both of them, and we can't say thank you enough for all they've done. Thanks also to Matt and Bach and Young for helping us with all the details and getting today set up so quickly. We really appreciate all your help. And thank you to Pastor Kim and everyone at Ezekiel for all their hard work in making today's memorial happen, from the service to the lunch. Finally, we'd like to thank all our family and friends for being such a special part of our lives over the years. Some we've known for a short period of time, and some we've known our entire lives, but each of you holds a special place in our hearts, and we cherish the memories that were created over the years. A few memories for me, even though there are thousands. Dad did a thing we called Monster Man, where he'd chase the grandkids around the house or yard and sometimes dress up in random clothes. He'd throw a hat on, put a handkerchief over his face, anything he could find laying around, he would chase them around. The kids loved that one, and they would always ask him to do it when they'd come over. That always reminded me of when we were kids. Jim and Eric and I, and he'd do what was called the claw. If anybody knows what pro wrestling was, it was this. He'd out of the blue take his hand, and he'd press his finger right into our chest, and he'd say the claw, and he'd just push. And we'd be laughing, trying not to wet our pants because we were laughing so hard. It's something we've passed on to our own kids, if you know what I mean. I know when my two were little, just the mention of the claw with a hand in the air would bring giggles. I never even really had to touch them. Dad and Mom also allowed my brothers and I and our friends almost free reign at the farm over the years, having friends over to swim and play hoops in the driveway. And Eric and I and our friends also made countless home movies around the farm, and I even had a fake band that would set up all over the place, our music blaring and fireworks going off, just like a real rock band. But Dad didn't mind for the most part. He had created a place that my brothers and I would want to bring our friends. And everybody loved hanging out at the farm. I could go on, but I'll turn over to Eric and Jim. Thank you again for coming today.
Good morning. Many men of my generation start the eulogies about their dads the same way. My dad was not a perfect dad. I've thought about this statement a lot these last few days. Most men of his generation really never had a chance at the title perfect or ideal dad. You see, what defined an ideal dad changed from what was modeled to them as a little boy and the measuring stick we use to define it now. Here's what I know, love, and truly appreciate about my dad. My dad told us he loved us many times in words as adults, but more so in actions of love when we were kids. In these actions of love, he taught us so many important lessons. He showed us both what it meant to work and play with real effort and pure joy. We helped him build a golf green, sand bunker, tees, everything. Then we spent the next decade plus making our own unique 18 holes around the yard and hitting thousands of golf balls from one of the 3 tee boxes up on the hill, trying to hit an elusive hole-in-one. And no, we never did. We built a baseball field together, complete with backstop and home run fence. I still remember the feeling of my first home run as it sailed over that fence into the cornfield, and the smile on his face as he delivered me a good, easy, what we used to call fat pitch, to help make it happen. We fought and whined as kids over who had to scoop and vacuum the pool, but because of his efforts to put the pool in, our house was a popular hangout, especially in those hot summer months. He also had inspired me with what seemed like 3 to 5 minute, one-breath dives to the bottom of the deep end to scrub the pool. This was amazing to me, and I'd sometimes sit on the side of the pool and count his time. It really was a very early influence into my love of endurance athletic accomplishments. We also helped mow a lawn, complete with whining, that took hours to complete. but then had the joy of playing football or maybe even badminton, our own little Wimbledon tournaments with lines mowed into the lawn. Our dad also showed us that yes, a man's job is to provide for his family, but it's just as important to check out and take extended time away with family to places like Glacier National Park, the Black Hills, and Door County. He also taught us to seize unique opportunities, like when we made a stop at Lambeau Field on that trip to Door County, and he made us run out of the camper as Bart Starr and Zeke Bartowski jogged outside the stadium. That action turned into a picture and tour of the locker room, and later treasured autographed pictures and footballs sent from Coach Starr for each one of us. And finally, in my young adult years, he showed us that it's okay to show emotion, even if it means you struggle with the task at hand, kind of like now. I'll never forget the first time I saw my dad cry. The first was when his great friend Ron Wunrow passed away, and then again when he bravely gave the eulogy of his great friend Dale Halls. Through tears, he spoke of Dale being an old-fashioned dad like him. I realized a little bit then, and even more now, that he was not just speaking to Dale's friends and family, but he was also speaking to my brothers and I. Finally, the trainer coach in me cannot help but look at this moment as a learning, growing, and teachable moment I'd be remiss if I didn't speak to, especially considering the events of today. A show of hands, please. Who still has at least one parent alive? A lot of people. That's great. Your parents are not perfect. They will frustrate you with their old-fashioned ways and ideas. They will call you at inconvenient times asking for help. Instead of an eye roll when you see that phone ring, take a deep breath. Your dads, especially, might not be what you need them to be emotionally all the time. You'll get annoyed, you'll get a bit disappointed. That's okay. But I encourage you to make real effort to highlight and focus on all the good things your parents taught you and do. Look for their ways of showing you love, direction, and attention. And if you're brave enough, take an hour to sit down and write their eulogy now. It'll help you dial in focus on all the great things that made them the people they are and the parents you love. When you're done, you'll have pages and pages like we did of great memories and a brand new perspective. Then, close your laptop, set your phone down, or if you're old-fashioned, your pen and paper, hop in your car or an airplane and go see them. When they open the door, just give them a hug, like it's the last one you get. When they go to pull away, keep hugging them just a little bit longer so they know you mean it. Then say thank you, and I love you for all you've done for me. I'll finish with a line my dad used any time we said goodbye in person. It was his way of always saying I love you when we parted ways. Dad, on your way home to Mom, be sure to watch for deer.
Good morning. I'm Jim, the oldest son of Jim and Judy. When I was thinking about what to say today, I thought of how surreal it is to be here to celebrate Dad's life so soon after Mom's passed away. It seems like we were literally just here. But as I considered it again, I realized that while Dad's passing caught us all unexpectedly, it isn't really that surprising that it happened when it did. Throughout our lifetimes, and especially in recent years, it is difficult to think of Dad without thinking of Mom, too, and vice versa. To me, and also to my brothers, they were always a team, first in raising us three boys, then as hosts for the Knollwood House Bed and Breakfast, later as Grandma and Grandpa, and also as a retirement couple at Lake City. It seems Dad also saw them as a team, since once Mom moved on to her heavenly home, Dad's overwhelming desire was to be with her in heaven. Like Eric alluded to, Dad was by no means a perfect dad, as none of us who are parents understand that there's no such thing as perfect parents. But he did bring many gifts to our family and to others. I'd like to share with you some of the things for which I am grateful to Dad. I'm grateful to Dad for his service to his country in the Army. He took pride in his service, and he was also very proud of his sister Aunt Louita's many years of service in the Marines. He was honored to wear his veteran's cap when he was out and about, and he was always pleased and grateful when people stopped to thank him for his service. And in recent years, he enjoyed connecting with fellow veterans at the American Legion in River Falls. I am grateful to Dad for his dedication to his friends. As a kid, I remember going places with him to do things like rototill the garden of older family friends, George and Gladys Kind, each spring, and him making sure an older bachelor family friend of ours, who we all called Uncle Carl, had a place to spend with us each Christmas Eve. I'm grateful to Dad for the time he spent with us kids, often doing projects around home, showing us how to work hard and do things well, and as Eric mentioned, mixing work with having fun. Dad really enjoyed doing things like cutting wood with us and his friends, where it wasn't just about the completion of the task, but the time that he was spending with others. I'm grateful to Dad for his love of what I'll call history. None of us sons will ever forget the family outings. Oftentimes we'd be going somewhere with Dad in the car when he would suddenly tell us he was going to take the scenic route. What should have been a short trip would become a much longer one, as he would drive through places and tell us what life was like in the past in those places. When we were younger, we tolerated these longer car rides as best we could. As we got older, we came to appreciate these times of him sharing stories from his earlier times in life. I am grateful to Dad for letting us know he loved us. As Eric said, when we were kids, Dad showed us he loved us mostly through his actions. But in later years, he was able to routinely verbalize it as he realized the importance of specifically telling his family members that he loved them. I'm grateful to Dad for being Mom's dedicated caregiver through her battle with Parkinson's. Mom's disease was unbelievably challenging for them both. But Dad did all he could to keep them living together in the least restrictive arrangements. This was so they could still do the things that they loved, like spending summers in Lake City. Even once it was necessary to have Mom move to get more assistance, Dad would spend as much of each day with her as possible. And at times he would sleep in the chair or on the floor of her room so she would never have to be alone. I'm grateful to Dad for showing his humility and how he was able to come back to the foundation of his faith, especially in his later years. It was incredibly moving for all of us to see and hear him sing so many old Christian hymns to Mom in her final weeks of life. One of my lasting images of Dad is with him, with his glasses halfway down his nose, sitting in his chair in his apartment, reading his morning Bible devotions. He grew strength from God's promises for a better life in heaven for followers of Jesus. And as Mom drew close to the end of her life, he continually reminded her of those promises. Today, my family and I all take solace in knowing that Dad is also now the recipient of those eternal promises. It is also comforting us, for all of us, to know that at the end of his earthly life last Friday, Dad knew he was heaven-bound. In his final conscious moments, the staff shared with us that he was peaceful and calm. And his last words before slipping away were, "I'm ready to go to be with Judy." And for that, we are all extremely grateful. So on behalf of my brothers and our families, thank you all again for being here today with us to honor our father, Jim Tostrud.